Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how you can sell a deal, wholesale a deal, in just 3 calls. Let's dive right into it. Before we dive into this video about how I was able to sell a deal within 3 calls, I want to invite you to my Facebook group. It's called the Painless Flipping Facebook group. It's just P-A-Y-N-E, like my last name, Painless Flipping. And in this group, we do master classes every week. We give you materials. We show you how we were able to do a deal within 30 days without spending any money on marketing. And we give you a bunch of free resources. So go check it out. There's a community. We want you to be involved, especially if you're trying to get into this. It's a perfect place to start. So without further ado, let's dive into this video. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you guys exactly how I was able to dispo a deal, sell a deal with just 3 phone calls. I know that sounds crazy, but guys, the strategy I use called Painless Flipping, it saves you a lot of time. When you have a deal, when you can come across a deal that meets the criteria of your buyer, or it's just a good deal and you can go find buyers, you can sell that thing extremely quick. So this is what happened. I'm going to show you in this video. I actually break it down and explain a little bit more. But basically what happened is I was able to get a $7,000 wholesale fee off of a deal that cost me no money by just sending the deal to my buyer and saying, hey, are you interested? Obviously, there's a little bit more negotiation that was involved, but we're going to dive into it in this video where I've recorded and explained the whole thing. So stay tuned and leave me a comment if you're interested in learning more, or if you just want to talk about what you thought about the video. Okay, let's dive in.
We're going to be talking about finding cash buyers today. And guys, the reason why cash buyers is so important, most importantly, finding them first and building and creating that relationship, is because, guys, with wholesaling, one lesson that I had to learn the hard way, and it took a while, is
The painful way.
Guys, with wholesaling, I don't care how good of a deal you have under contract. You don't have a buyer that's ready, able, and willing to pay you for it, you don't make any money. So from a business standpoint, right, when we think about business, guys, what do people always say? Start with the end in mind. So we want to make sure that when we start with the end in mind, it's the cash buyer that's paying us. That's our ideal client. That's the person that we're serving. So that's where we need to start. And another really important thing is not all buyers are created equal. Depending on who that buyer is, depending on what they're looking to do with the deal, it's going to depend on what they're able to pay. So you might have a house and you might talk to one buyer and he might say, this isn't a deal, doesn't work for my numbers, all this stuff. And he might be right for him or her, right? But for another buyer, depending on what they're looking to do, depending what things cost them, and depending on how they analyze a deal, it might be the perfect fit for them. And that's the difference between whether you make money or you just lost a bunch of money in marketing. So really, 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 really important to start here first. Can't stress that enough. And, pass it back to you.
Well, no, that's true. I mean, they say one of the biggest expenses is in real estate is just not having a buyer, right? Because you cancel your contract. The importance of networking, not only with other wholesalers, other real estate individuals, but buyers is key. It's key. So anyway, we're trying to drive that in, and we're letting you know that we use Batch to find buyers. So check this out, everybody. And I'm going to let you know about a story of how I just did $7,000 on a deal, no marketing spend, leveraging my buyer in about 3 phone calls. And if you want to take the amount of time I spent on it, maybe 45 minutes. Okay. So if any of you are interested in making 7,000 or anything close to that, less, more, doesn't matter, in little time, this is exactly what we show you using leveraging Batch's information for buyers the painless way. Okay. So on Batch, if you want to find a cash buyer, this is one of the key ways that I do it. Is I will go to the filter section and I will filter for cash buyers in a specific area. So what you want is you want to type residential if that's the type of cash buyer you're looking for. You're going to filter it for single family. If it's single family, obviously if it's townhomes or anything, you can do that. So this is basically saying, hey, I want these type of properties that cash buyers purchase. So that's what the property characteristic stands for. Then what you're going to do is you're going to say, what properties are on market? You're going to go yes. And you're going to say within the last 12 months. So it's saying what properties, single family properties, are on the MLS within the last, I say 12 months, but it could be just like 9, it doesn't matter, like 7 days, whatever, as long as they're listed and active, and that have been flipped by cash buyers, that have been purchased by someone that's bought it for cash within the last year. So just to break it down so everyone understands completely, it's like you got the property that you're looking for. You're saying that it's on the MLS and it was purchased for cash within the last year. So that tells Batch, when it does its algorithm or like its filtering, that these are cash buyers. This is a flipper who bought it to flip it and is trying to sell it. Now, potentially there's flippers that take longer than a year, so you could extend it out, but that's usually the filter that works works. And if you guys go over here, you can see properties that look like they've been flipped. Now, these are just, are pulling up data in PA and just other areas. But if you go and you actually filter it with, specifically like go market, it will tell you. So that's pretty much very simple. Like, it's not very complicated at all. So I want to tell you guys about an experience. And if it gets a little loud, it's because we're outside and you guys are working on the pool. So it might get a little crazy. But this is an experience I just had. And I want to show you guys how this full circle goes so you guys can get paid really quick, the painless way. So I established a relationship with one of my buyers. I said, hey, how many are you looking for? He's either looking for like up to 5 at a time or 0 at a time, depending where he's at. So he's like, I can take on 2. He's like, I need 2 for my cruise. I've asked those questions. I have that relationship, and I found buyers like him through Batch, right? So I say, okay, he's looking for 2. Where are you looking for? My buyers, this guy, he can buy in many places throughout Utah. So you're going to find buyers that can do multiple counties, multiple areas, but he's just like, dude, just find me this specific criteria. So I'm like, okay, he's looking for this type of criteria. And we're not going to go too in depth with like criteria, what to ask. We can do that another time. But I knew what he wanted. So a wholesaler, I network with wholesalers in my market, and I called the wholesaler about a deal they had. And I said, hey, I know you got this blasted at 425. I have an offer that's a little bit lower. How low can you go? And they're like, 400 is the lowest I can go. And I was like, one of my other buyers at this time was like offered like 383, so way lower. But they're like, hey, it doesn't work. And I was like, no worries. Let's continue to do this. Let's, let me know if you have any deals you need help moving. Like 3 days later, after I made that phone call, and by the way, this wholesaler I networked with, we're not best friends. Like, this is just someone I made contact with. They texted me and said, look, we are probably going to flip this thing at 400,000 when we have it under contract for, but we don't really want to. Can you try just asking some of your buyers if they would take it just for a little bit more? I was like, okay, so you guys are flexible. They're like, yeah, we're going to buy it at 400,000 and we blasted 425. Nobody bought it in between then, but please help us. So I was like, okay. So I texted one buyer, the guy that's looking for 2 deals, texted one buyer, said, hey, take a look at this deal. He looks at it. He's like, I want it. Okay. And when I sent him that text, I said, hey, this is the situation. They have it under contract for 400,000. They're about to flip it. They don't want to. Obviously, if you take it, we're going to have to get a wholesale fee for me and for them. Right. And he's like, okay. So he's like, well, what do you want? And then we just negotiated as like 407 because 400 is already kind of tight on this deal, but he liked it. So he's like, yeah, I can do 407. So it took me one text with explaining the situation, calling the wholesaler. So then we just had a communication and that's it. I was done. I just connected them to the wholesaler. I don't care if they actually knew this buyer. Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh, we've worked with Scott many times. Oh. It's like, great. But why did it work for me, Nate? It's because the relationship. They blasted this, guys, they blasted this deal out to a buyer's list of about 15,000 people. Like, they have the same buyer's list I do because I know this wholesaler's operation, but that didn't mean they got the deal done.
Yeah. And how much did you spend on marketing to find the deal? 0, right? Didn't have to do any cold calling, didn't have to send out any direct mail. And the only reason why that's even possible is because he started with the buyer. He had the relationship with the buyer. So now he's able to leverage other people's hard work, with putting those deals together and be able to help them out in a big way, right? Because relationships, especially in today's market now more than anything, I believe so strongly that, guys, it's people with the relationships that are getting deals done. Let me know what your experience is. But in my experience, and I bet yours is been similar to this. When we talk to these cash buyers, these investors, now more than ever, when you talk to them, it's not difficult for them to get on everyone's list, right? People are searching them out. People are finding their emails all over the internet on Facebook and just adding them to their lists without them knowing it. Guys, so their email box and inboxes, they're being inundated with tons and tons and tons of emails on these deals and properties and, for stuff countrywide, where they're not even interested and for people they don't even know. And guys, they're like, look, my email just overflows with stuff from wholesalers and most of it's not even a good deal. I don't know who they are, blah, blah, blah. When you're able to reach out because you have a personal relationship with them, you're able to put deals together that nobody else can, right? And so what that does is that opens up so many opportunities for you to be able to make money. And the best part is you're able to do it in a way to where, guys, this is so important with wholesaling, not just what the assignment fee was or gross profit, but net profit, right? So without having any overhead, without any marketing costs, guys, this is net into your pocket.
You got a cell phone bill, bro. You got to pay for your cell phone.
Whatever the cell phone is, right? And whatever, and as far as the cost for finding these buyers, guys, with batch, it's not a lot of money, right?
I want to let you guys know that the thing is, like, this strategy, whether you're brand new or you're experienced investor, is something you should all implement. The problem with the experienced investors, they're getting so many deals that they're just like, we don't have time to make all the specific calls on those deals. We got a lot to work on. So it's like a niche. It's something that you guys can do. Get good at those buyers. Again, I'm going to show you. Use the filters I just showed you on batch and go develop relationships with agents that have buyers. Agents, you can network with agents or go directly to the cash buyer. Sometimes I want to elaborate and go deeper on it. There's really not much else to go and to show you guys on like filters and all that stuff. You get the people. Now the conversation is something you got to practice.
What I will do though is I'll just throw real quick for you guys. What does that conversation look like? Guys, number one thing, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. And we want to be as specific as possible, right? So when I call them or I text them and I reach out, I'm always trying to get on the phone. So even if I send them a text first, it's to get them on the phone. We always want to get on the phone.
Why is that? Why do you want to get on the phone?
So important. I'm not able to create a relationship just through text message, right? So when I'm able to get on the phone with them, that's where I'm able to.
It might be AI. It might be not even a real person.
Right. Nowadays, you never know. So we really want to make sure we get on the phone. We can build that rapport, build that relationship, because that's what the most important thing is. And guys, that conversation, it's as simple as, hey, I saw you were buying properties that look like some fix and flips, and you can give the example of the property that batch gives you and say, hey, are you still looking to buy more deals in the area? Super simple. Hey, are you looking to still buy more deals in the area? Right. And then from there, you get to ask more questions. Hey, what is it you're looking for? What type of deals? What type of profit margin do you look for? What type of rehabs do you do? What is for a light rehab? What's a light rehab for you? What does a light rehab cost you? Okay. Do you typically use hard money? Do you use bank money? Do you use your own personal, cash on hand? Right. Do you use, what's your closing costs? What are your holding costs typically? We want to get as specific as possible so that we're able to get all these details, and it makes it really easy for you to figure out when you're looking at a deal, right? Oh, I know exactly what my buyer is able to pay. And it makes it really simple. And now when I reach out to my buyer, I'm only reaching out with stuff that fits his exact criteria.
Love it.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
That helps, guys.
You nailed it. So for any of you that are like, where do I start? Where do I start with wholesaling, or where do I start as a real estate investor? There's no better way to start than with the person, the end in mind, right? The person that's actually going to buy the deal. If you just go out and call and you have no idea what price to offer, if you could even close, where the location is, then, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle. But if you start with the buyer that knows is going to buy it, you reach out to the agent, that wholesaler, you try to structure, bring the deal, and you can leverage, they're going to tell you, hey, I can do it or I can't, or this is where my offer is. So it's just a good way to start. And I believe it's a strategy that should be used for experienced and new investors. Everybody should be doing it. Hope you like that information. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon if you want more information like this. See you on the next video.